Welcome, Adam.
Hey
How are you,
Dale.
bro? Hey, good to hear your voice. Last interview, I said pick one thing you like, and it was gold. And that was a nice ride for you, buddy.
Oh
Great call. A
boy, it
great
was
call.
oh yeah, that was in early September, right there at the turning
Yeah,
point. It was that was some heady days there for I don't know 5 or 6 weeks.
yeah. So here we are. We're, into possibly, well, not possibly, we're into year end. We have to start thinking about 2026 a bit, don't we? But we do have to get through December 1st. So silver made new highs, Adam, recently, and gold hasn't. Still like the gold, and a lot of people think we could make new highs into year end. Are you in
Yeah,
that camp?
I think the chart. I mean, that chart looks okay, right? We're starting to see some higher lows. You'd expect to see. I would expect to see it a little closer to 4,100 over the last little bit, but it's pushing
Yeah.
the upside. You'd like to see it break out here. It kind of or at the start of the week, it flirted with it, and then it's kind of been sucked back in. But then Asia knocked it down to 4,200 on Tuesday, hung in there, went through it on yesterday in the US, and now it's kind of come back a bit. So I don't know. There seem to be bidders every time it goes down. On the silver side, I think it tells you that retail is getting more involved, which says we're probably, in the latter half of the ball game here. Um, it's it can get you can move a little more easily, right? Without the big central bank bids. Plus you have I think there is a pretty compelling case for industrial demand, AI demand
Yeah.
of silver that I think is out there now. So pretty impressive move there. Really impressive in gold. Just today or late yesterday, I guess Timorous was out saying that the Fed had canceled interviews that were supposed to be today. Trump had canceled interviews, or JD Vance had canceled Fed interviews that were supposed to be today. Trump saying he's got it down to one person. Everybody thinking has it. Um,
Well, they had to do some filming on South Park.
what are they up to? The madness there?
No, anyway, South Park does parodies of them. It's a cartoon.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, so yeah, so I mean, Gold's had a great year. I would say if it's going to make hay, it should do it now because I know the dollar's under pressure, but I've been looking for this pullback in the dollar, which I think could hold around the 98 level. Um,
Well, I think
so,
it's those few things, we're talking about next year. So Hassett, if it's Hassett or whoever we
oh
get at the
yeah,
Fed, that gold's going to
yeah.
need that. The dollar's going to need that. This Venezuela bid is cooking up, certainly not a dollar positive. And then the Supreme Court decision on tariffs, which I think is huge. Um,
When is that, Adam?
well, they have about 6 months to decide after the
Oh,
arguments. So they
okay.
expedite it oftentimes. So people are thinking January, February, but we won't know till we know, and that's going to be a moment where you're going to want to be at your desk because and
So,
really brushed up on it because that is a potential game changer. It'll let
it's
us know really what the Supreme Court's going to allow. I mean, just last night, Trump trying to veto all the pardons or trying to doing the whole auto pen thing. Again, is the Supreme Court going to allow that? I mean, we're kind of we're into a different world if really anything goes. So,
well, it's kind of his court. I mean, he appointed, I think, three in his last term,
well, that's
three
I think the question we
justices.
want answered is it
Yeah,
his court or does precedent or anything else mean anything?
yeah.
Because
So, what would happen to the market if the, the Supreme Court said that some of the tariffs weren't legal and you have to roll them back? Would that be like a black swan event?
well, no, I don't think so. I think that's probably likely. I mean, if you look at betting markets, it's around 70% on that they will block the tariffs.
Okay.
Um, Now whether they pay them back, that's much lower. I think there's like an administrative thing that a lot of people are saying that is really difficult to do. You sort of blow out the deficit, that's bad for bonds, but good for the rule of law. and probably lowers inflation. So I'd argue bonds can rally. I mean, it's not ultimately that much money that's out there, 200, $300 billion,
Okay.
which seems like an obscene amount, but we have multi-trillion dollar deficits. And it's a one-time thing. Again, you start to punch a bigger hole in the deficit running forward, but you kind of get to think, all right, we're there are still some checks and balances here, and I think international markets would like that, right? And you would maybe see the dollar stabilize on that. But if I were to make a case for gold or a big dollar sell-off, it would be the Supreme Court sort of rubber stamping it, saying basically Trump can do whatever he wants,
Okay.
uh, some kind of war in Venezuela kicking off, and you get a stacked Fed. You get Hassett in there, and then you get maybe Lisa Cook getting turfed as well. That's probably 6 months away. Um, and you get, the more meddling in economic data sort of things, which, remember, that was one of the things that really kicked off the gold rally, and some of the dollar sell-off was firing the
Yeah.
stats
The
agency. And
BLS person,
right
right?
now, and it's sort of, you just get, like, it's just the chaos, right? I mean, if you were to sum it up, it's like it's a bit on chaos, dysfunction,
Yeah.
and uncertainty.
Okay. Well, to speak of, that's a great segue for US dollar yen and BOJ next week, Adam.
Well,
Don't you think?
overnight there was the
Yeah.
S&P Global PMI for Japan, and it flagged some inflation risks. And
Okay.
they I think they've got a hike. We're about 66%, or we were last night. That sounds about right, but that's a tough spot to put the central bank in. We're pretty close to the decision here now. I think they have to hike. Then again, you're seeing these ADP numbers. You saw a little bit of GDP weakness from Australia overnight as well. Um, it's a real big debate about where the economy is right now. I mean, the consumer numbers just look good. They look good on Black Friday. Over the weekend, they look good. All those releases on that. I mean, some of that I think is a secular shift to earlier Christmas shopping that's been going on for 10 years, and sort of evens itself out by closer to Christmas because people are just ahead of the game. But
Okay.
consumer numbers look good, and not just in the US. In a lot of places, Europe consumers are spending. I was in London last week at the Finance Magnates London Summit. London was busy, busy everywhere. Airplanes full, airports full.
Yeah.
It's
No
Canada's
recession.
economy, despite all the tariffs, looks to be doing fine.
The real
So,
estate. I wanted before we move away from the yen, uh, we've experienced an unwind of the carry trade like that August. I forgot if it was a year ago or 2 years ago. What's more important to put pressure on the carry trade, rates or the value of U.S. dollar yen, or both?
I mean, volatility is a big one, right? In general, and we're seeing a little
What
bit of
would
that.
force, yeah, what would force an unwind of it? Because I mean, people are still pretty piled into the end carry trade.
Yeah, I
What?
mean, it's something like today's ADP data. You start to get some non-farm payrolls that look like that, and yeah, I think you start to see rate cuts. I get this inflate or recessionary talk going again. That'd be first kind of basic scenario. Number two would
Okay,
be you get some real high volatility out of an unwind in the AI trade.
okay,
We start to see a reckoning in that. You can easily get the Nasdaq down 20% on a rethink on AI. So. I think
yeah,
at some point, where you mentioned 2026, there has to be a shakeout, right? And you can kind of see the seeds of it being planted. You can see all the angst, Gemini kind of shaking up OpenAI. At some point, you don't price in everyone as a winner. And, it was a
Google,
pretty impressive release.
yeah. All right. So, talking about the unwind of the AI trade, um, we've had this little pullback in NVIDIA. You think that's enough, or there's another
I mean,
wave
even
left?
yesterday's price action kind of worrisome. Like,
Yeah,
Nvidia is strong out of the gate, right? And
yeah,
had some
yeah,
good headlines, and
and
fades
faded.
down, finishes up like 0.8%.
It's
The
going to
kind
be
of
up a couple today, I see in the
yeah, well, it's looking
pre-market.
good again. We'll see if it can hold. I mean, that chart starting to look a little head and shouldersy, a little toppy.
Yeah,
I think it's just stupid to think to run their earnings going forward forever. Say, it's only 28 times 2027 earnings. Think, that doesn't seem too bad for a company that's hot, but sustaining 75, 80% profit margins is a bet against capitalism. Um, they and innovation. I mean, that's a huge burden that companies have to pay. It's monopoly pricing. And I think, when that alone is what, 8% of the S&P
S&P.
500,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a drag if that gets cut in half.
And also, we've had pretty nice recoveries in S&Ps and stuff, but we could, even if we made a new high in the Mag 7, it's not going to, momentum seems to be, I don't know what they're rotating into, but this rally seems to be kind of weak compared to what we had in S&Ps. And you can't even talk about the Mag 7 all moving together. They're even bifurcating.
It's a fair point. I mean, hey, listen, Tesla is way overvalued. I'm totally on board with everything Michael Burry was saying this week. Um, Apple's sort of doing its own thing, looks smart now. Meta just keeps losing on AI despite spending insane amounts of money. They also generate the cash. Google's obviously killing it right now. I don't know who I'm forgetting there. But, and then you kind of look about a rotation, Amazon. I mean, Amazon, nice
And there's
spot.
Apple,
Nice, yeah, nice trade yesterday. I mean, just steady.
the
Any pretty highly
Amazon,
valued Apple, though, for a kind of non-growth company.
yeah, Meta, Google, Microsoft.
I mean, Microsoft isn't exactly executing either, so
It
they're
looks
kind of a
broken.
management.
Yeah. How about the financials? They start to look a little heavier
Well,
to me.
you look at the Russell 2000, which is something you kind of think, that's economy, small cap economy. It's so financial heavy, and then it's a bunch of memes, like AI memes, quantum computing memes, and it kind of kills me that we don't have like a better old economy metric, or something. It was the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it's just not anymore. And if
Yeah.
you're looking for the rotation, and I think financials can be one because you can take out a lot of overhead with AI, and I think that trade is gonna come, and I think financials are gonna be fantastically profitable for a while. Citi is particularly cheap. Bank of America is solid. I don't know how that Citi chart looks. C. It's one I've been circling for a while. Um, even a airlines, Dale. I want to go down the old Warren Buffett um, hole, and I think airlines are really if you're worried about AI and you think that baby boomers are going to travel a lot, like airlines it's a crate. It's been maligned, right? As long as
Right.
you've been in markets, certainly as long as I've been in markets.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett said if God wanted man to fly, he would have made airlines profitable. Um, and he even tried to buy them, but he said he hires someone at one point, joked anyway, to keep him from buying airline stocks because they are always so compelling.
What's
Uh,
your favorite?
I mean, on the home team, I
Or
like Air Canada, but if you just do jets, or American
what's that, an
Airlines,
ETF?
AAL's kind of coming back, or jets, you can pull up either. You look at IAG, even British Airways, and that conglomerate, pretty cheap. I don't know if we're too far outside of what we do with macro. It should be just jets is the ETF for
Oh,
I don't know if it's not coming up, but you bring up American Airlines. The chart is kind of interesting right now. Had a big day
there it
yesterday.
is.
There it is. Um,
There's Jets. That's the ETF.
so
Ah,
would
pressing
you
the
let me make
highs.
the if you'll humor me for a minute, I'll make a quick case for airlines.
Okay,
First
go
of
ahead.
all, the loyalty programs are ingrained now and they're like annuities. They're cash cows. They basically get money for points and they grow and grow and people collect them and they kind of lock things in, but it's a very steady revenue source. that's basically paid by, credit card companies to them. There's a joke that United Airlines is an air carrier or is a loyalty program with an airline attached to it because that's so much of its money and it's steady and it's solid, which is the opposite of the hyper cyclicality in airlines. Number two is the
Interesting.
K-shaped economy. I mean, wealthy people fly, poor people don't. Wealthy people doing better than ever. Number three is demographics. You have this wave of retirement, and baby boomers are traveling like crazy right now. Not only they're traveling, but they're smoothing out the cycle. So a lot of retirees will travel in the spring and the fall. And so that smooths out airline traffic, makes it much more efficient, whereas the summer used to have a peak
Yeah,
because
that's right.
families were traveling, right?
Yeah.
And number three, I mean, on valuation, they're insane. I think it's like sometimes 5 or 6 times EV EBITDA for something like the U.S. carriers, which have moved up a bit. Something like IAG or Qantas, anything international. Air Canada is at like 4 times earnings. Um, they are extremely cheap. And then finally, the last piece of the puzzle is um is more efficient jets. Like Boeing had a big day yesterday. They're cranking out these efficient jets that lock in some real cheap costs because they burn much less fuel. People, I don't know if you fly a lot, but people fly a lot of first class, a lot of business class, and the margins on that are crazy good.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand it myself because I'm happy to grind out economy for 7 hours rather than paying five, six, $10,000 for a seat. Uh,
Yeah.
but listen, you walk through the plane and they're full. So they've got it down. Maybe it's points. I don't know how people are doing it, why people are doing it, but business travel you'd like to see pick up a little bit more, but it's
Yeah.
probably better than you think, or most people think. So I don't know. That's a little bit outside of where we usually talk on macro, but
It's okay. I'm very curious to know if you ever try and sneak into first class from economy.
I no, I don't. Is that possible?
I
That'd
don't
be
know. I
awesome.
mean, I saw a Seinfeld episode where they tried to do that.
That it's
And
it's not going to be. I think the final is not going to be disrupted by AI. So if you don't know where AI, like we're going to
oh
be
yeah,
flying on the same planes for the rest of our lives. There's no robotics. There's no green. There's nothing that's going to change aviation.
okay.
Maybe they can
That's
get
the
a tad
same.
more efficient.
Yeah, that's an interesting argument because that's the same reason that people piled into Uber last year during the trade war tantrum, Liberation Day. They
Yeah.
started buying Uber, and because it wasn't going to be affected by AI. Do you have a view on
Well,
this company at all?
I'm annoyed by it because I was in that trade at the start of the year and got shooken out at some point. I don't know, maybe around a
Yeah,
Liberation Day because it was cheap, right? It is cheap.
yeah.
They can probably do self-driving. They have the network effects. Even Bill Ackman, who's just a weird guy, he made a pretty good case, I think, for it, or maybe it was someone else. It is, it ticks a lot of the boxes. I think people are worried about like robo taxis like Tesla,
It,
but I don't know. That's why
I
it
think
became
there's
a
a
great opportunity.
Waymo. Waymo is
Waymo
a
too,
big,
sure.
yeah. So all I know is you were long. I was, getting short buying puts, gosh, all the way back to here. And it, never really paid me. It just took a long time, but that looks like a pretty clean breakdown at 90. I was wondering if you thought it
Yeah,
might
I
be a
can see what you're
sell.
saying. Like I don't have a position. Like it was a lot cheaper at 60 than it is now at 90.
Maybe
So
I'll
it's
trade
kind of just one
60
of those
again.
ones where I think, wow, I kind of had it let it slip through my fingers, and now
Well,
there's always another trade, I like to say. So you try
yeah.
to dust it off and then forget about that one and not FOMO into it. Wait
I
for a
was
better
wondering,
setup.
I wonder what were people saying about it down here, or it was just another
Yeah,
victim
well,
of
that was it.
the
I mean,
market.
it was very
Yeah,
cheap that, people, I think at the time are saying, oh, Robotaxi is not going to sweep it away.
yeah,
They have a lot of levers to do their own self-driving. They started working with Waymo as well.
yeah.
And it again, it's growing like pretty quickly still, and it's a nice
It's
service.
it's
You
going to
got,
open at 90 today. There must be some positive news in that.
yeah,
Can
so
we
I mean, if it
cover?
can shake off that breakdown and go higher, I mean, tech,
Yeah, maybe that
it's tough to
happens.
trade on valuation.
Why don't we talk about what people have been
What a comeback!
yeah.
What
Do you don't think this is a low and we're going to blow,
I
or
mean, you
we
just
just
look at
have
that chart. I mean,
yeah,
higher low there. Looks like a higher
right
high
here.
today.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty impressive. I mean, that looked kind of dire when it was down under 84 yesterday. China was cracking down. Was it day before yesterday?
Yeah.
And that, I
And
mean, that was a rough fall.
Ethereum looks better. Some of the alts look a little better than Bitcoin.
I mean, I
Um,
honestly, I'm not too interested in Bitcoin and other than a trade. And I really like it as a sentiment indicator for risk taking in general. I mean, if you're getting Bitcoin higher here today, I think that was the one thing you were looking at the Nasdaq, you're looking at a lot of these tech stocks saying, well, they don't look that good. And
yeah,
then you had Bitcoin breaking down, which
right.
has been a precursor to tech selling before. And you think, boy, I don't know if I want to be net long Nasdaq into December, January here. Now, if Bitcoin can get right back to 100,000, you feel a lot better about it.
Yeah.
Um, you do got to crack that $100,000 level again, though. So it looks to me like we'll probably drift up around 898 and then have a nice little battle there, and we'll see. But I
Okay.
think now, for right
Anything
now,
on WTIs threatening a breakout of this downtrend
I mean,
over
the supply
60?
demand. I hate to look too much at the chart. I mean, but today's pretty good. I mean, the API data out overnight
Yeah.
was terrible.
Yeah.
And we're higher today, so that's good. I mean, OPEC. I don't know why we tried to rally off OPEC the other day, but whatever. There's just too much oil out there and I get, so the argument is that everybody knows that we're oversupplied next year and price hasn't cratered. And so that's bullish. But like, I just can't, that's just not a good enough trade for me. It, they're just too much oil, it seems right now.
And most of it's
Maybe
on the water, right? It's
yeah,
sitting out there.
it's
Yeah.
building up. Now we're into a slow seasonable period. I just feel like we're going to be dumping oil. Like if you crack 50, I'm pretty interested.
Okay.
Totally I think it's unsustainable here. But I just think something has to, might get peace in Ukraine here. That's obviously bearish oil. Maybe they pick a fight with Venezuela, but I kind of, if we get a rally on Venezuelan bombs, I'm kind of fading that. It's
Yeah.
900,000 barrels per day in Venezuela in a world that's at like 103 million. It's not really much. And they're not going to bomb the oil facilities. They're just not. They never do. So
Yeah.
maybe you take out 400,000 barrels. It's kind of immaterial.
Yeah.
So I
So
just
maybe we get
don't.
a little $5 rally up here to about 63, 64.
Yeah, and then if it
So
fails there, you still have a lower high.
right.
I don't want to short crude because it's pretty cheap, but listen, I would love to get a four handle on oil, and then it gets really interesting because
Okay.
that's probably as close of a trade as you're going to get to like a negative oil redux is like
Okay.
45. This in the real world. We're not going to do that again in my lifetime. Yeah, well, I guess you can never say never with pandemics and stuff like that, but
Okay. So I just
there's my
wanted to
Twitter.
there he is.
It's
There's
FX
Adam.
underscore button.
Yeah, so just want
Airline
to
stock
show.
underscore button.
Let's look at see what Adam's. You guys need to follow Adam. And he's at Investing Live. This was just a rename of it, right, buddy?
That's right. That's right. We rebranded. We're investing live right now. It kind of talks, more what we're doing. Um, not just not just FX, which is always we've always been coming on here talking about gold, oil,
Yeah,
equity.
we've always covered
Uh,
everything.
So, we're there. That's what we're doing. Just looks a little bit different, but still a lot of economic data, heavy on the macro,
Okay.
and just, dabbling in a little bit more
Where,
of
where do
equities.
we find your stuff mainly on this?
Well, I worked late last night. I'm just on the live feed here. It'll come up. I'll be writing about things in a half hour here.
Okay.
Uh, and
So, all right. So you're on the
and
live feed.
yeah,
All
just
right.
investing. I mean, we got a great team there. Greg's great technicals. Just a great team all around. So if you want to know what's happening in markets and why in any given time, I mean, last night was interesting. So there was an election in Tennessee. I was covering that pretty
Yeah.
closely. It ended up about 9 points spread, which is about where you expected. And I think the one takeaway is that there were some models sort of tracking it, right? And we're all going to be
Hmm.
trading next November during the midterms. And, you had a New York Times model, which supposedly should be a good one. And it was saying with 30% of the vote in, that it was going to be 2.9% point win for the Republican, which is super
Right.
narrow on one that they won by 20 points in the
Right.
general election. So it looked kind of like a disaster.
It
But
came in
my
at what,
takeaway from all
11?
that is these models are still terrible.
Okay.
It- in an AI age with 30% of the vote, you should be able to pretty much nail down the result, especially it's on district level or what do they call them? Precinct level data
Yeah. Yeah.
with many years of it. And it's just the models still aren't good, which makes I think it's pretty trivial to run one up for, anyone with a budget and AI capabilities. So I fear that we're kind of not in an era right now where you can use publicly available tools to trade elections live. As that's such a killer AI app, and a modeling app, and we're just not going to make it happen. So be careful about trading elections, is what I would say
Okay.
live. And the betting markets actually nailed it pretty closely to a 9 point swing.
Be careful about running in elections too. In
Who would
this
do
type
that?
of in this type of
Who would go into
political climate.
politics?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll be your campaign manager. You
I
want
would
to do it?
never, never, ever. It'd be
Come on.
insane to go into politics.
The trader congressman, which we had plenty of those. I don't know if they're doing it now. Uh, Really good to talk to you again, Adam. Trying to get a little reversal in the Dixie
Well,
here.
that's an interesting little candle there, but
Yeah,
ADP, weak ADP jobs data, I don't know.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
tough data by the
Yeah,
dollar.
yeah. May bounce. I think it has 98 destiny in it
You
on
got to
this
think
one.
Powell had some other data that we didn't. You know what I mean? I see this ADP data. He flagged a cut out of nowhere, kind of,
Yeah,
you know, and it looked like he was pushing against it, and then suddenly flags a cut on nothing new changing. I don't know. Feel like the Fed has some data that we don't. Gold's starting to run here right now.
yeah,
Uh, it's got to be. He's got to leaking out that it's going to be Hassett, that the
yeah.
Fed's going to cut, that the Fed has seen some data that we haven't on jobs. I don't know. I don't know. It's a pretty poor report. I mean, the trajectory in ADP is kind of ugly too. Be nice if we had all the data,
So
but
2026, another great year in S&Ps.
yeah, I think I like things like industrials. I mean, we're just gonna trade on these tariff headlines. Things have held up. Deficits are huge. We'll go where AI takes us. I'm pretty optimistic, but maybe the next leg is financials. Maybe we cut rates a little bit more. But the economy, it's just hanging in there. I feel like everybody kind of wants to get a recession over and done with, but the pain trade is just this kind of 1.5%, 2% economy, with pretty solid consumer and
Okay.
real heavy investment in AI capex.
And none of this the plumbing issues like the repo market or, we had some, private credit where you find out about things.
I mean, the
Um,
private credit's got to be one of the most obvious bubbles of all time. It really is. I just don't know what it looks like when it blows
it's
up.
so
I mean,
opaque. Yeah. How do you know?
well, the marks are obviously bullshit. I mean, the
Yeah.
marks
Yeah.
have to be bullshit. There's
Right.
just no way that they're reasonably marking any, especially in real estate. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that could end up being bullish for the rest of the market. Yeah, financials get smoked, but if that money makes its way back into public markets, it's all upside.
Yeah.
Um, because
Well, you know, if the dollar
it's a
gets
scam.
smoked, everything rallies, right? So that's probably the key is the continuation of a bear market in the dollar, lower yields should should lift all boats for a while, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it was one headline at a time. China, I think, China, maybe we get more stimulus there. That's been a great trade this year. I don't know. I think what's working is probably going to still keep working for a while.
Okay. Got a nice little reversal from possible three drive in silver. So, Eric, Adam, great talking to you again. I hope you have a great holiday season, and 2026 is not only a new name for your company, but new breakthroughs happen for all of you guys.
Well, same to you, Dale. It's been a lively kind of pretty stressful trading year. So maybe we'll
Yeah.
get something a little bit more sensical next year. But some pretty cool things happening in the world. So
And,
we're
okay.
enjoying
And I
that.
look forward to talking to you for another decade.
Boy, it's been flying by.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Adam Button, everybody.
Well,
One of the best news traders on the street. Um, he's a guy that has the stethoscope and knows the pulse of what's happening. So pay attention to Adam's work. And thanks again, my trading warrior brother.
cheers, Dale.
Cheers, Adam. So that's a wrap, everybody. Just looking at this, I'm not sure if silver made a new high. That's what I was waiting for. Anyway, catch everyone tomorrow. We'll have Mark Chandler with us tomorrow. So don't miss that. See everyone. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and could join the team in 10 minutes for the morning edge. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.